Joining me now is more Karl Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff under President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Mo Alifi, former Senior Spokesman and Traveling Press Secretary for Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Good to see you both. Karl, you know, it's interesting to see everybody come out and say, we need this John McCain, we got to get to the bottom of that. But now we've seen so many in the media say, come on, lay off of it. Now, I agree with it when it comes to the fake medical reports that have been out there about her, but we're allowed to ask questions about her health.
Oh, sure. And look, in previous elections, I remember in 2000, we went through this exhaustive process with the New York Times where we had to make available every health record of Governor George W. Bush of Texas. They had to be looked at exhaustively by a fellow who had done this for 20-some-odd years for the Times and examined by other physicians. It wasn't pleasant, but frankly, it was part of the process. And that's been the way in most modern elections. 1996, Bill Clinton stiff-armed the New York Times for months. We knew more about the health records of Bob Dole, a World War II veteran, than we did about the baby boomer Bill Clinton. But I think both candidates ought to accept the fact that that kind of scrutiny, I don't know if the Times is now prepared to do it, but that kind of scrutiny is necessary in the modern campaign.
Mo, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's totally legit to want to take a look at the health records and background of candidates, and that's totally something that voters rightfully ought to have information on, and it's a legitimate question for them. Having said that, it is not legitimate to be out there spreading false stories about a candidate's health that have no basis in fact or reality.
Okay, but let me ask you, let me stop, because there's some crazy right-wing, like really far right-wing websites that came up that apparently made fake health documents for Hillary Clinton under her real doctor's name. The doctor came out and said those are completely false. They misstated her title. I mean, they're just bogus. But let's take it a step back from that, because you've had people like Rudy Giuliani out there saying she looks sick. Just Google Hillary Clinton and health, and you'll find. You know, is your view on that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I agree with the doctor you just had on, who said it does undermine the whole process. It undermines the way we look at this whole thing. I mean, the stuff that's coming out of not just far-right websites, the stuff that's coming out of, not just out of Trump's surrogates' mouths, but even some of the things that the candidate himself is saying, I think are really unfortunate and do a disservice to this whole conversation.
Questioning her stamina?
Donald Trump questioning her stamina, saying that she is not mentally or physically prepared or has the stamina to do the job. You know, look, Donald Trump, you got a problem with Hillary Clinton. You have an issue with Hillary Clinton. You have plenty of issues to differentiate yourself on. Do it that way.
Karl,
but to manufacture something about her health.
Part of what's going on here, Karl, you tell me, is that there have been questions, in particular after she had that concussion and she had the glasses on for the double vision, and some of the comments that were made back then that raised real questions about what had actually happened to her then.
Yeah. Well, think about that. Absolutely right. She has a concussion on the 13th of December, falls down and has a concussion, but we're not told about it until the 15th of December, 2 days later. We're told on the 25th that, or excuse me, I actually got this written down.
The
on
whiteboard,
the 20th, we're told,
on the health.
Whiteboard. We're told on the 28th. We're told on the 28th of December that she's going to be back to the office next week. On the 30th, she's hospitalized with a blood clot, but we're not told about it until the next day.
2 pages.
She leaves the hospital on January 2nd. On January 7th, they say she is fully recovered, and they have a photo op, but she's not fully recovered. On the 23rd of January, 2013, she shows up at the Benghazi hearing wearing Fresnel prism glasses that help people who've suffered a concussion or traumatic brain injury get their vision right. She appears on 60 Minutes interview with President Obama, again with the glasses. It takes it over 2 months for her to get rid of the glasses. In fact, the next year, her husband, Bill Clinton, says it was terrible. The concussion required 6 months of very serious work to get over. That's what he admitted a year later. So, you know, when people have it, I remember when President Bush ate the pretzel and collapsed. we had to make every record available. We had to provide doctors in extremis to the press. And when she misled the American people, or people on her behalf misled the American people about the seriousness of that concussion, it does create some doubts. Now, I'm separate that from the arguments that Trump makes about her, you know, can she, as chef for the rigors of the presidency. People have made that argument back to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
So that's in politics, but both of these people ought to come clean with all their records.
Mo, would you like to respond to the triple whiteboard?
I didn't hear it all over the sounds of the black helicopters that I think were flying by the window here.
Coming after you.
What I think I did hear, though, was Carl repeating many of the things he said back in the day that he actually had to walk back because a lot of it wasn't right and wasn't true. And this is what I'm talking about.
This is absolutely true. The President, the Secretary of State allowed her people to mislead the American people about the seriousness of her concussion.
The insinuations that you're making there, the insinuations that Donald Trump making there, there's very little difference between the two.
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm not insinuating anything.
Nobody can understand when you talk over each other like this.
I'm not insinuating anything. I am saying her people did not tell the American people the truth about her concussion, and misled the people, delayed providing information, and then her husband admitted that it had taken her 6 months to get back on
track.
Gotta leave it at that.
We appreciate you doing the writing on your whiteboards and something better than Dr. Scratch, so we could actually read it. And
I'll bring mine next time too,
whether
Carl.
the American people are persuaded is up to them to decide. Great to see you both.